joined with the creative team behind I almost said behind Diego Gutierrez and Carlos Coto, but actually the show From Dusk Till Dawn, the series, which, by the way, we were mentioning earlier, it's just celebrated its 20th birthday back in January, which is pretty phenomenal. Obviously, you were heading into the third season, and it's gone beyond the identity of what was just this movie. I know it's, pulled from there, but was it nice as soon as you started getting up to the third season to be like, I'm so excited to keep pushing this story as further and further, because it feels like we might be heading into not quite a reboot, but we're going to obviously get introduced to new characters this season.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we were out of it by episode 7 of the first season.
Yeah.
So second season for us was great because we just got to just expand the canvas, and we continue to do that. And season 3 was very much about taking that canvas that we had drawn in season 2 and even in a way blowing that up and expanding it even further, because really the ethos behind it was that section of the movie where everything goes crazy in the bar and it goes beyond vampires and they start turning into monsters and stuff. So that's basically the sort of the thrust of the season, is there's this whole other part of our universe that's even crazier that our guys are now going to bump up against.
Right.
So that's, it's just limitless.
Which even when you were working on TV and obviously, the way that vampires are now portrayed or shown, you guys want to make sure your vampires obviously look different. Right. And they have a great sort of moment where their sort of fangs retract out of their mouth and come forward up sort of almost like a mouth guard.
Yeah.
Which is awesome looking.
Yeah.
But I imagine even sort of storyboarding those, coming up with how do we make vampires cool as hell in this era of TV?
Yeah, exactly.
Tell them the story about Gutierrez, how you,
for us, it was kind of early on in the first season when we were thinking about exactly that question. How do we make a mark in this world of, where vampires are kind of ubiquitous all over television and everywhere, and how do we have ours stand out? Because the movie, when it first came out in 96, you weren't really seeing as much vampire fare as has come out since then. So for us, it was about how do we make ourselves different. And in researching a lot of the mythology that we use for the show, which is Mesoamerican, which is from the Aztecs to the Mayans to a lot of the Latin American or indigenous cultures of down there, we kept running up against the fact that reptiles, and specifically snakes, are a huge part of their representation of their gods and their deities and their religion and all kinds of stuff. So obviously snakes having fangs as well in a similar way to vampires, that kind of sparked something in us. And we started thinking about, well, what if they really aren't like vampires at all, and their genealogy is really kind of different and they're much more like snakes, and it sort of fits into our desert theme on the show.
It gave us skin as a kind of a metaphor, for what's going on culturally in the show. And I remember that call you called me during the first season, and we had this kind of crazy snake idea, and it kind of all came tumbling down because Diego called and he's like, "What if we take this snake thing even further?" And then we started to come up with the folding fangs like snakes, and the whole opening with the snake pit and all that stuff in the first season. And it just we just sort of ran with it. So they have a couple of hallmarks of vampires, but they're really
they're their own breed.
They're their own breed, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Carlos, which is the worst thing for you as the showrunner additionally? Because a lot of times, watching whatever comes through, you're thinking, a lot of the stuff we do have to do digitally post.
Yeah.
Does that make it harder or easier for a showrunner when you're like, well, we can worry about that later?
Well, it's a little harder because you can get lazy. You can kind of say, oh, well, we'll just do that. We'll just fix that. But it's always better when it's practical. So we try to mix it up. And, again, Muse, who does our effects, are so great at making everything seem real and happening in the moment. But we also have Greg Nicotero and K&B Effects, and they go back to the original film.
Yeah.
And so they do all our practical stuff. So they are really the guest star of this season, because what we did was there's a creature every week. There's some kind of monster every week on our show this season. And so Nicotero and K&B, guys behind Walking Dead.
Yeah.
And From Dusk Till Dawn just came to play, and they brought all the great stuff. And it came from Robert Rodriguez and him being on the movie, talking about that part of the movie where everything went crazy. Well, Greg and Robert told me the story of how when they were shooting that, it was kind of like playtime for them. Greg would go kind of into the lab, so to speak, and make something, and he'd come out with it and be like, "What about this?" He's like, "Yeah, put it over there. We'll film it.
We'll use it. We'll figure it in something."
So that we're kind of doing that kind of like on a season-wide scale this year.
Well, also, it's awesome that Robert Rodriguez still, I mean, I know he at least directed a handful of episodes in the last season. Like, he's still very active with it. And I'm sure, is he hands off or is he sometimes getting involved with you guys being like, well, I was thinking I would like to see it this way?
I mean, I think he's kind of a great combination of both things. Obviously he has a lot on his plate and a lot going on, but at the same time, this has always been his baby, and just the way that he goes about his business is very different than a lot of folks that are based here in LA, and just sort of in general very different than working with any kind of network or studio that you would usually work for based out here, because he's his own machine. So for us, part of what's amazing is that he is the head of the studio, head of the network. He's kind of our guru, and we can reach out to him directly. And sure, he's involved in kind of everything, and we have discussions with him about all of it, but he also has such a clear vision about what he wants that it's easy to get a yes or no answer from him, and therefore we have the ability to just dive into things with the full confidence that the lead creator behind this thing, the visionary behind it, is on board and is excited about what we're doing. So
Yeah.
you don't second guess.
I mean, he's just a fantastic, like, instinctual creature. He's just great because we every year, every season we start, we just do a big summit and we sit with him and we just talk about all the crazy stuff. And he just has a gut reaction on so many levels in a great way. And like you said, it's his baby, right? So, and then he just kind of helps steer the ship, and then we kind of go off and do the big broad strokes. And he's always looped in. There's room notes that are done every day that he can look at. Obviously,
Right.
scripts come out and things. Then he'll look at stuff, and he'll it's like they're the best network notes in the world because
Right.
they're like super smart.
They're like, and they're like, and more blood or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah, yeah.
like, you can go harder.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder, I mean, do you guys give him those little treats? Like, even shooting the finale from season 2, there's this huge car crash, and there's this huge bar blowout fight, and you're like, well, let's make sure that's in one of his episodes that he can
Oh,
direct,
totally.
because he'll live for that.
He'll text me and be like, "Not enough carnage. There's no carnage!" Exclamation point.
Yeah, but we go through with him, early on, and as we're planning the season, and you can tell as you're talking to him that he's picking out those moments where he's like, "Oh, that's one I'm going to be doing.
That's something I will
something
work
I'm gonna be doing." And he's so fluid in the way that he works that he will just pop in, and help us out wherever he can. As much as he sort of directs the episodes that he decides to direct, he's always there. Kind of, you feel his influence, in a great way wherever we are. So.
Right. How long was that shoot sequence when the car basically flies up and explodes, and just the blood is coming out of it?
The big tanker sequence.
Yeah, the big tanker sequence.
That was, I mean,
That seems like a big sequence for the show.
oh, it was huge.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
basically spent 3 weeks at that location, but that was about a week, that whole thing, because it was basically, God, what was the name of the place? Our place was Jackknife Jets, but
yeah, I don't know
the set was this old big kind of restaurant / honky tonk in Austin, and we took it over. It ended up actually becoming Jilly's in the ill-fated Urban Cowboy series.
Oh.
Like, they took it over when because we were the ones who found it and kind of turned it into a stage.
You made it cool.
We made it cool.
Yeah, you guys made it cool, and someone
And
stole it.
someone stole it.
Is
and
that
never
what
got on
happens?
the air.
Yeah, exactly.
Never
That's
got
what
on the
happens.
air. But yeah, so we were there for a week doing that, and the stunt, I remember, was just one night, and we were in the middle. Remember when that big storm hit Texas?
Yes.
That year,
Yeah.
we were in the middle of that. We
Oh.
were right in.
And you guys had to shut down?
Well, it rained all day. We shot all the jackknife stuff inside, all the carnage, right?
Mhm.
And then we went out for that. It stopped raining, and we shot that. We didn't have to do a wet down, which was awesome. And then I remember because we called Alejandro Brujas. Alejandro is a Cuban director who's done 2 for us, and really, really good with weather. Like,
Oh, you're like, get him in here.
No, he's
Get
like,
this
because it's a whole
monsoon.
Santeria thing. He's like, no, I'll talk to the gods, right? So he does a whole Santeria thing, and he literally was texting us. He
And
goes,
he saved you.
He saved us like twice during the season, but it was like literally like
So
the
wait.
storm did not hit.
Is the whole series shot all in Austin?
This season, third season was Albuquerque.
Is in Albuquerque. Okay.
Right.
I was going to say, I
First
didn't
2
read
were in
that it was in Austin. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, we switched it up, and it's got a whole new look. And actually, for us, it was kind of fun to explore because in Austin, you don't find as much of the desert landscape as
Yeah, you got to actually travel outside
exactly.
of the city. Yeah.
And the original movie was shot outside of LA here, so there was a lot more of that desert, and we would struggle to find that in Austin. I mean, Austin was fantastic to shoot. Obviously, Robert is based out there, and the crews are amazing. Everybody was great, but just in terms of the look and the feel of this season, in an effort to make it different in so many different ways and make it fresh, it was fun to return to those desert landscapes from the movie.
Yeah, let's mention, because the show is premiering on Tuesday, September 6th on the
Yep.
El Rey Network. If you've not been watching, you can catch up via Netflix. You can binge the first 2 seasons and get right up in there. We're talking about From Dusk Till Dawn, the series. Oh, is there a time jump? What is sort of when we pick up with season 3?
Season 3 is about 3 months. We said no, sorry, 6 months. We
6
call
months.
it moons. 6 moons later.
6 moons later.
It's the whole I don't know the whole nighttime thing. So we just do it as moons. But yeah, it's 6 moons later. So.
And because there was a lot of death, or at least we think, like we know, like Wilmer's character is in pieces everywhere.
Right.
You know, we know that there's a lot of shakeup. So is there going to be a lot of characters introduced in this first episode if that much time has passed, or is
we kind of start with the geckos, and what happens is the world that we spent 2 seasons building, we essentially
You're like, bye.
We're like, bye, you guys. We sort of blow it up. And
You take your beautiful mind board down, throw it out, build
Totally.
a new one.
Well, that was Robert's thing too. That was one of the things in our summit for the season was, we had ended with this thing of like, well, Culebra should be in the shadows, and and maybe Seth, you can run this, and we should help us stay in the shadows. And Robert's like, let's not contract the universe, let's expand the universe, right? So that's what we did. So we sort of blow up the universe. But to answer your question, it starts with the geckos, and then they sort of deliberately start to seek out members of their group, so to speak.
Okay.
And it's sort of like
It's like a collecting of people type season,
Right. To fight,
rebuilding.
Correct, to fight the sort of the bigger threat, that's come. The show, both of the first 2 seasons have always been about the characters in disparate places, starting like the movie, and inexorably kind of being pulled toward a place. Now it's less pulling and it's more shoving, and it's
Right.
more deliberate.
Yeah. Have there been thoughts of almost doing like a reverse Walking Dead where it's now going to become like a comic book or something? Because I feel like it could be ripe for some sort of medium of like that's a visual on paper.
I don't know if I'm giving anything away, but Robert told me he's been approached to do
it.
like a multiverse.
Oh wow!
Where where El Mariachi's in the same comic book multiverse as the geckos.
Yeah.
You know
okay.
what I mean? With like, I guess the Spy Kids are in there too. I don't know, but you know what I mean? That would be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, it does feel like it lends itself to Machete is
very distinctive. Yeah, so you can see that kind of a cross-boarding happening between his stories, and it'd be really cool. I mean, comic book would be fantastic. He's already so
absolutely.
visual.
Well, that is, I mean, the visual and even the lighting of this just looks so cool. It just like translates to paper weirdly, which I don't often think when you're watching something like this should be a book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right? Like, when does that ever happen?
Yeah. It's cinematic. It's because of Robert. I mean, he makes everything so cinematic, and it really is, for him, it's really go big or go home, and it's really, he pushes everything. And that's honestly, as a TV writer, sometimes we're trained to think smaller because of budgets and all that kind of stuff. And, he's just like, what? No, blow that up, push that,
Sign off on it. Sign off on it.
Go.
Well, Carlos, I mean, I'm so fascinated by showrunners because I just feel like it is the hardest job, and I can't imagine what that's like, to just oversee like just so many things day to day.
Yeah, but it's a team sport. I mean,
right. You have to.
You have to have not only people like Diego, but the rest of the staff. I mean, everybody does the heavy lifting when the time
just being
comes.
humble now. He's just being humble.
No, it's
normally
true.
he's like, get out of here, I'm the boss.
No, hey, okay. Well, I mean, look, I was staring down the barrel of episode 8 this season in my trailer in Albuquerque, while we were shooting episode 6, and I didn't have a script yet. I mean, I had the outline.
Yeah.
We, and he was directing 7, so it's like I can't. Hey, what do you think of this? And he's like,
right.
So it's sort of like,
well, it's so hard. But then as that's happening, and then some PA comes up to you and is like, "Is this color of blood okay?"
Yeah,
and you're like, "Yep, that's fine." And like,
totally.
Right, you have to like approve everything and
everything.
like have your hand on everything. I don't think people realize like just how involved being a showrunner is.
Oh, totally. Getting texts from the makeup trailer of. Because it's always like this thing of, well, he gets wounded, but we're shooting this part first, so he's always got the wound. We haven't shot him getting wounded, so what do you want the wound to look like?
Right, especially
like,
it's
like,
you're like,
backwards. You have to backwards engineer your whole.
Yeah, I mean, every show I'm sure is incredibly difficult, but with this one, you're also dealing with all those decisions about mythology and about, like you were saying at the beginning, special effects versus, real physical effects and what's happening in post. And it feels like you really are making a movie,
and a different one every week. I mean, it's also about like the Skull Keeper, right? Who's the villain in the first one. Is this kind of EC Comics inspired, sort of villain. And what he does, he's based on the Calavera, the skulls in Mexican culture. But he has this very specific thing that he does where he removes your skull from inside your head and it's all gooey and gross, but your head stays. So, when we have, what we call our concept meetings, it's not just questions about what shirt's he going to wear or whatever. It's kind of like, how does this work again? And why
Yeah, what does
he still
that
have a
look
skull?
like?
And what does that look like?
Does he have
What am I-
lumpy bumps on his head?
Right.
Right.
What am I filming? You know,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like,
Is
so
part of it caving in?
yeah, and totally like, so it was totally about every week conceptually laying out for the crew what we're doing and what this monster does and how he works. Hopefully that's all in the script, but still, it's about literally concept meetings. And then it's also, again, when we say team sport, we'll go to Nicotero and say, you know, every year we've done a tour of the Nicotero, you know, facilities over there.
Which is probably the
it's
coolest
so cool.
tour
Very cool.
ever.
And they're like, you know, and I always joke on the calls with Nicotero because we'll come in with all excited about this thing we're going to do. And he's like, yeah, I did that in Wishmaster 4 back in 1997. You're like, oh, he's like, oh,
He's like,
yeah.
Liz, I did that
But
20
half the time
years
he's
ago.
also like, hey, I didn't get to do that on
Right,
Wishmaster
right,
4.
right,
Let me pull that up and see what we can do with that.
Let me pull that up. Now, guys, we want to mention that the series premiere, season 3, is happening this Tuesday, September 6th on the El Rey Network.
Yeah.
We have Diego Gutierrez and Carlos Coto joining me. And you're also part of Paley Fest, which we have been promoting. We love the Paley Center. They do incredible things. It's the 10th annual Paley Fest, the fall TV previews, which begins next week, September 8th through the 15th. Here in Los Angeles, if you're going to be around, you should go to the Paley Fest. You can get tickets. It is open to the public. You can go to paley.me/previews. And you guys have a panel taking place.
Yep.
We do,
Which is phenomenal. You're all going to be there.
I may not.
Carlos is
family
not
thing.
possibly
I have a
going to
family
be
thing that
there.
I cannot miss.
Can you remind me what night it's actually taking place?
September 9th, right?
It is on Friday, September 9th. So that is just after the premiere. What are you guys going to be doing a screening of the next episode, or what's
I
going
think
to be
the
happening in
screening
your?
2
I
was
think
what
they're
they were going to
screening,
do.
episode 2, which
Because
will be
Robert
the next
directed that.
episode.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, great.
That's Robert. That's a great episode. And yeah, me and I think a few of the cast are going to be up there talking, answering questions, and just, having fun.
Awesome.
It'll be
Well,
great.
you guys, we are huge supporters of the Paley Fest. So honestly, if you're going to be in the Los Angeles area, you should get tickets because it is open to the public. Paley.me/previews are where tickets are available, and you can see from Dusk Till Dawn, the series, a second episode, but tune into the premiere this Tuesday as well.
Cool.
Gentlemen, it was so lovely to meet both of you.
Likewise.
You too.
Please
Likewise.
come
I
back.
love your
Maybe
show.
we'll. Oh, thank. It's so nice of you. I can't
Very
believe
cool
you
show.
listen.
Yeah, dude. Totally.
So nice
Totally.
of you.
I love when you guys get into arguments. About
Oh
what
my
you
gosh,
like
we were
and
talking about that earlier. We're like, Kyle and I fight all the
You're
time.
like, I don't really like that show, dude. And he's like,
I know. We were actually just in an argument because he's actually, Kyle's heading to his brother's wedding.
Right.
But Moulin Rouge is being made into a musical, and I was like, oh, Kyle would be on fire. He would be on fire if he was here today. So I'm gonna just gloat all day about it. Guys, Diego Gutierrez and Carlos Coto, thank you so much for
Thank you.
joining us. We'll be back in just a few minutes with Chris Kelly. So please stay tuned. This is LA Daily.